And once again, we are live. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Risk Reward Show. My name is Chris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk. And as usual, I am joined by
Mr. Reward.
And we are here to help you find the upside in your career, in your professional lives, in your money, and in your business ventures. As usual, we will start with the Risk Reward Weekly Rewind. And unlike past weekly rewinds where we had some room to be lighthearted, I think there are two stories that really dominate the week. And for me, the first is Afghanistan. So I'll lead straight into this with this historical perspective of what I remember the feelings were when 9/11 happened, where those two airplanes took down the World Trade Center and killed thousands of people from the viewpoint of someone who is actually taking the E train headed towards that direction. And from someone who's had friends who, after 9/11, like because of those events, were inspired to go into military service. So that is the perspective that I'm coming from. There's also some other ramifications that a lot of people don't even connect with 9/11, but because of how the government reacted after 9/11, you had the Patriot Act. And from then you saw how the country mistreated folks who were from the Middle East of Arab descent, or who even looked Arab or like had Arab names. That mistreatment, I remember that because I remember my friends being mistreated. And then in the Patriot Act, it also had ramifications on immigration policy and how people traveled. So a lot of what you all experience in traveling with, all the bag checks and taking off the shoes, that all happened from 9/11. So with that as the perspective, the news for this week is the Taliban, who orchestrated the attacks on 9/11, have ousted the former leader of Afghanistan, who the US had supported. And over the past 20 years, the US has gone to Afghanistan to defeat the Taliban and to train Afghan people to fight against the Taliban. So what has happened this week is a clear sign of defeat for any hopes of democracy in Afghanistan in the near or even mid-future. It's a clear sign of defeat for US presence in that country. So when you saw today clips of people climbing onto a US military airplane and hanging on to that airplane in Kabul airport as it takes off, right? Imagine you've been in an airport, you've seen the runway. Imagine the desperation you must feel to walk on the tarmac, climb up on the wing, just grasp onto anything that sticks out of that aircraft and think like, whatever the outcome here is, the slight chance that I'll make it to the US or wherever this plane is going, the slight chance that I'll make it alive, I will take that chance because I know what's coming in this country, in my country, and I'd rather have certain death than to see slow death unfold in my country at the hands of people that look like me and have an ideology that is going to be repressive for me and my family. So I'm going to pause right there.
Yeah.
And that's my perspective on it, trying to combine, again, the past 20 years and really in a really short time.
Mhm.
But I'm going to pause right there.
Yeah. So like we were talking before we went on live, like I was off the grid for like a couple of days. So when I started to see what was happening, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. The fact that like seeing that image of people literally running beside a plane that's taking off, and then there was apparently some story of someone who fell from that plane, like, you know, thousands of feet up in like the air. So if that's true, I think that's wild and crazy. But from the news that I've read and that I've seen, just seeing how the president of Af 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 Afghanistan just like literally just like left and fled. That says like a lot. I thought that was like, wow, like you're gonna leave your entire country. Like I thought the captain should be going down with the ship or something. But I mean, I don't know too much about, you know, why the US has, you know, pulled out. But I do know that it's been a long lasting war between you know, the US and there in terms of getting the terrorist out. So do you know exactly why the US decided to pull out now?
Because it's a losing battle,
Well, there's
right?
always been a losing battle, yeah.
And what do you want the troops to do? Are you going to leave them there in a losing battle?
Mm.
So, you know, as a government, you have a responsibility, or you should have a responsibility to your constituents, to your citizens. That is your first and foremost responsibility. And then this government has asked thousands of troops to stay there for an extended period of time, not to be with their families, to give up some of their prime years where they can be enjoying what America has fought so hard like to build, like the brand of freedom and opportunity. But you've left your troops there for 2 decades in a fight where you realize you have no chance of winning.
Mm.
It was either, I mean, again, from the outside looking in, the US had to win that quickly with like an overwhelming show of force for this to be even deemed a success. This was all born out of revenge.
Mm-hmm.
They got us bad as a country. They hit our biggest city, killed so many innocent folks. And what do you do there as a leader? You're going to retaliate. You have to assert your dominance as one of only 2 superpowers left in the world, US and China.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let some small group out of Afghanistan punk you like that, kill your citizens like that. So as a nation, whether or not you were Democrat or Republican, liberal or conservative, folks were all on board for the most part. Let's go out there and kick their ass because of what they did on 9/11. Let's go out there and dominate. And it wasn't supposed to be a 20-year thing. You have this superpower. You can't squash the Taliban over the past 20 years. Like it doesn't feel like American exceptionalism, right? Why couldn't we have like dominated them? We have so many more resources. We make fun of countries that look like Afghanistan, and yet they defeated us when it comes to this.
Mhm.
So, and I've seen like the UN and American officials be like, no, we clearly won. We're trying to pull out our troops. Uh, this is a setback, but clearly, our time there has been fruitful. Like, no, it hasn't. The billions, if not trillions, this government has spent on training Afghan people to fight against the Taliban, plus the resources we provided for our own troops.
Mhm.
That money could have been spent, I don't know, helping with like climate change, improving infrastructure, right? So there's an opportunity cost factor that needs to be considered here. But the biggest one is you risked thousands of lives, you cost thousands of lives, and you still lost. Like the desired outcome, you still didn't get, and you're like the superpower.
Yeah.
And like the messaging is partly like deflecting from like the reality of what's going on now. And this doesn't even account for the countless of Afghan civilians who died because the US intervened, right?
Mhm.
So when you look at the totality of the lives lost and the money spent with the outcome, the past 20 years in Afghanistan has been probably one of the biggest failures of leadership in our lifetimes for the US government. And there were 4 different presidents involved. So 2 Republican, right? 2 Democrat. This isn't a party thing. This is a US government thing.
Yeah.
So that's there's no positive takes on this one.
No, yeah. I mean, for me, it's just getting more informed about, what's happening there as well as what could happen. So I'm definitely gonna stay on top of that.
Yeah. And to continue with the bad news, right? That's not the only tragedy. And of course, like we've had opportunity in past episodes to address other tragedies like SOS Cuba and all the protesters who suddenly went missing because they spoke up against the Cuban government. Kind of the repressive takes going on like by China. So that's fair critique on us. But hey, we chose some other things for Weekly Rewind in past episodes. And the other sad news is Haiti. So we have another earthquake that was devastating. Some reports calling it worse than the one back in like 2010. And again, that's a country where, if you think about it as a whole, it's like the first independent Black-led republic that fought against like colonial forces, that they fought against France. And as a reward, they had to pay reparations to France, which has left their economy in shambles. And then you add onto it multiple devastating earthquakes within a relatively short time span. And like, my God, like, why is this happening is the first thing that pops into my head when I saw it like that. Like, it can't get more cruel.
Yeah. Are they on like a fault line or something?
So that I don't know, but it's happened more than enough times to make me think that, yeah, that it there's something in terms of um geology where that is not a good place to be
Mm,
um if you're worried about earthquakes, and they don't have the infrastructure to handle that,
yeah.
and the economic underdevelopment there is ridiculous.
Mm,
um so again, I'm just venting because you almost don't know how to help. All I do know is that when I think of some of my closest friends, one of my childhood friends was on Orange is the New Black, and uh, she's Haitian, and I was friends with her brother and her, and like the support I got from them, as my neighbors growing up as a kid. I was living in the basement again, undocumented, but not realizing what that fully meant. Like
mm,
they were they were like one of my few like really close friends. And then when I think back to college, my best friend in college, Haitian.
mm.
And I think about, the communities that we grew up in New York, large Haitian presence.
Everybody,
Um, yeah. And
especially Flatbush.
right. And so like I think about their extended family who might still be there. And most of all, I think of this young lady who a friend of mine who, like, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, I was doing a mentoring event at Goldman Sachs's headquarters, and she, out of nowhere, she came up to me and introduced herself, and we became friends after. She's actually helped me with my business. She's doing really well, but the reason she ended up in this country in the first place was because back at the 2010 earthquake, um, she she came to this country to
Mm.
flee. And I thought about her and again any extended relatives she might have. So this is, if you have any sense of compassion and empathy, um, you don't have to know anyone Haitian, right, to feel for folks that are suffering in that country. So yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts and prayers go out to everyone, friends and family, like for those that I don't know that have been, harmed by this earthquake. Because I feel like when it comes to things that the earth does, there's really nothing that we can possibly do. I mean, we can probably build like buildings better, or just make sure that the everything is set up in like in a way to where there's not a lot of damage that happens. But when you get a 7.2 type of earthquake, I think that's just crazy. And for it to happen, not so long ago, I think that should have been a click to everybody's head, like, hey, we gotta do like something here to help out. Just to really help out Haiti in terms of just making sure that if this does happen again, it's not as bad. But clearly no help was done, or no help was actually given. So I really hope this time around there's something that's done to prevent this from ever happening ever again. I mean, I'm not saying that we can stop the earth from being earth, but just if there's some type of solution to where if there's an earthquake in this area, people are warned ahead of time before it comes. If there's like some type of tech that's out there to kind of manage, like, hey, we are starting to see like this might happen, everybody get out now. I mean, I hope there's some type of like insight like that happens. But I mean, as for right now, like I said, my thoughts and prayers go out to everybody who was who either has family there, friends and stuff like that. I mean, like for me, I'm if there's any ideas of what we can do, Chris, I mean, I'm happy to help out.
I I think in processing all this news, I just felt overwhelmed, and this is probably appropriate that we're talking about this idea of burnout, right?
Mhm.
And I know we've spent the past 27 episodes, past several months, trying to help professionals find the upside in their careers, in their money, in their like business ventures. And this may not feel aligned when we talk about heavy world news like this. But when you're working with team members and you're in organizations, you're in companies that can set aside the space to talk about these issues and maybe, create a little bit more empathy and compassion and understanding of different perspectives. Like one of our, more younger viewers may not understand the feelings that happened right after 9/11 happened. And this is where, we can provide a little bit of perspective, maybe to give people a greater understanding. I think that our carving out this bit of time to talk about these heavy issues does make you a better professional, a better employee, and a better global citizen overall. So I think it's important us to have this, quick recap and discussion. But again, like if you're feeling like this is heavy, well, this aligns pretty well with the idea of burnout. And for full context, as we transition to the main topic, this episode right now is actually part 2 of our burnout series. So last week we talked about how to identify signs of burnout, right? And we talked about ways where our sleep or like eating habits, our coping strategies have been disrupted because of burnout. Now we're going to talk about how we fight burnout and sort of the risks and rewards that go along with that. So with that in mind, Derek, uh, you've written on this, you've spoken a lot on this. Give us your plan of attack on fighting burnout.
Sure. So I wrote this article back in 2017 called Diminish Interest Meets Exhaustion. Because when you're burnt out, you're literally just like, I'm tired. I don't want to do anything. I don't care what's coming my way. So last week we did, talk about some signs of how you can see what's coming. But I did want to just kind of, basically just kind of go over some of the tips that I gave in the article that I wrote back in 2017 about how to fight the burnout. These may sound pretty easy things for me just to say it sounds easy, but these are really hard within practice, because you really have to have like that mindset, like I'm going to do this no matter what. This is what I want, so I'm going to make sure that this does happen. But one of my favorite things to do when I'm feeling burnt out is to be able to say no. The power of saying no, I think, is powerful within itself, because not only are you, it sucks to tell people no, but at like the same time, you have to think about you have to think about like, hey, I have a lot on my plate right now, and I can't take anything more. Like I only have room for rice, chicken, and greens. I can't take on something like something like pasta. I can't have that on like my plate, because it's way too much stuff. So I think people should feel very, very comfortable with just saying no, in terms of, you're thinking about you. And, if you do say yes and you're in the state of, feeling just, burnt out, you probably won't give your best. So I'd rather give my best than like half-ass anything that I do. So if I know if I'm not in the right state of mind, and the right, just like situation to handle multiple things, I'm going to say no.
I'll add quickly that it doesn't always suck to say no.
No.
So
Yeah.
sometimes it feels powerful, and sometimes it's one way of your communicating to whoever made the ask, like, wait, you weren't being mindful of my time.
Mhm.
And by saying no, you reassert your power.
Yes. All that is very, very true. And I feel like the more uh work experience I get, the easier it does become to say no, because now I'm able to point out those things and say that, like, hey, like, I'm doing a lot. Why would you ask, like, why would you ask me to do this, or just being saying no because I don't have the actual time to do it. But when you're first starting off, if you're, within like any type of company, and you're just taking on tasks, like, just to see, like, oh, I'm that person that can, do whatever is needed, and you might just not be able to say no. And I feel like early on, you do have a hard time saying no because you want to be that helpful person. So it may come off as like something hard to do, but like Chris and I just said, it's very, very powerful to say no. So
So,
get used to it.
so before you get to the other strategies, another
Mhm.
quick follow-up. What if it's a very important project and it has to get done, but you're like the last resort? Now, sure, there might have been some like bad planning beforehand that puts you into this situation, but you have the situation where this is high stakes and your stance is no. Do you just let the project fail?
So there's a actual approach that I use when something like this has happened. So, excuse me. So if there's something big that's happening, and, like, your boss is saying, like, hey, I need you to help out, this is when you say, like, okay, you bring to their just like knowledge of all the stuff that you have to do. So I have to, reach out to these people, I have to, do, like, make this chart, or just whatever tasks you have, you put the onus back on them, like, hey, if you want me to do this task that you're asking me that needs to be done by, you know for yesterday, which one of the other important tasks should I not do? So now it's on them to be like, oh, like, maybe, Derek is doing like a lot, maybe I shouldn't ask him, or I should ask, like, another person on the team, or they would say, like, maybe, don't worry about that right now, or these, like, two tasks, and just put this first, to where we can worry about those other tasks, for later on.
That is a great gem. I hope the audience actually understands the power of that strategy, that tactic. And yeah, that's definitely something we should clip up and share.
Yeah, because when I use that, like, you saw the other person, like, damn, like, he does have a lot to do. Like, hold on, maybe I shouldn't ask him. So that was something that I read, and I use it. I'm like, like, this works. So yeah. So another, I guess, really important thing that you can do to kind of fight burnout, once again, sounds easy, very, very hard to do, but it's I'll combine like these two, but it's really comes to down to your diet and your sleeping habits. um it's very, very crucial that you get enough sleep. I feel like without sleep, without recharging your battery, you cannot, do, like, anything. For me, I try to at least get between, like, 6 to 8 hours of sleep every day. On good days, I'll probably get between, like, 7 and 8, hopefully 9. But I feel like, if I do get 9, then that's, a day where I have nothing planned. But being able to really say, like, you know what, I know it's coming up till, like, 8 o'clock. Just let me put my phone away. The fact that you have that blue light, in your face, that stuff keeps you up. The fact that you're always checking your Twitter, your Facebook, that stuff keeps you up. And making sure that you're having, like, a healthy diet, in terms of, like, not eating fast food, staying away from fried foods, eating more fruits, drinking more, water, finding the time to actually cook. I think for me, cooking is something that I truly enjoy, because I'm spending my time on this perfect meal. So whatever I want to do, I make sure that it's, it's freshly grown, that this is fresh stuff. So giving myself that time of that me time to really focus on something healthy, I think in like the long run helps me relax in terms of, you know what, I'm cooking this meal. This meal is going to be very, very helpful. I'm getting all of the, you know, the nutrients I need to make sure that, you know, whatever task I have at hand, I'm able to handle because my body is, you know, just like properly just like ready for that.
Did you say long run, Derek? In the long run? Is that what you said, Derek?
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I'm trying to live, bro.
hey, so in a world where we think about how often Botox is used, in a
Mhm.
world where Brazilian butt lifts are popular, so between BBLs and Botox, the idea of wait, I just have to have a healthy eating lifestyle and wait, I need to get like 6 to 8 hours of rest every day, including weekends.
Mhm.
And I need to fit in some exercise a few times a week at the very least. That is so fundamental, basic, and I'm here to reiterate that basic wins in life.
Trying to live, man. Trying to live. I feel like the ever since I really focused on like my health in terms of not drinking, you know, not drinking a lot, but just like drinking water and like the benefit of really just cleansing out everything. That has been very, very helpful. Also knowing about like my like family history in terms of like what a lot of people in my family have and just avoiding that, you know, like that type of food. So for me, I'm really thinking like long term, I really want to live to be like 90 so I can see everything that I've done. And I know that it's really like I really played like the stock market. Like it is not a short a money game. This is a money game. So the same way how I invest in companies, I'm going to invest in me. Like whether that be eating, you know, broccoli or eating mushrooms or, you know, stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't seem like, oh, like this is great. But in like the long run, it'll definitely help out.
All right, that's definitely quotable. The way I invest in companies is the same way I invest in me.
Mhm.
Somebody make that go viral. Make some graphics out of that. Just
Yeah.
make sure you put Derek's name on that. That's super important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but all in all, I'll share the article that I wrote, but these are the most important tips that I think. And the biggest upside for me is really, you know, being a much better you. You're more clear headed in terms of, you know, tackling whatever problems that you have to solve, and essentially, well, hopefully it would, you know, lessen the amount of burnout that you are feeling, because when you are burnt out, you really just have to kind of just step back and just recharge. And these are the ways that I always do it.
Yes. And what I'm hearing is what you put into your body affects what you put out at work
Mhm.
or in your business venture or in your financial planning. So that's a very important point to make that summarizes all your tips. I have a question for you about some of the other strategies that people take. So that whole, you know, take time off, self-care, and like
Mhm.
vacation time. How do you approach that?
When it comes to your me time, I think you should definitely take it, but be responsible about it. Like if you plan on taking like a week off, make sure that your team is, you know, one, that they know that you're taking this time off. That's I feel like I've like that's like that happens a lot when you find out like, oh, like you're out for the week. Like, damn, like we were just working on a project, but all right, cool. Thanks for telling me. But that's like number one. And just making sure that you know, when you do leave, your team is set up in a way that they can handle anything that comes their way. And also, if there's anything that you can complete before time or before you do head out to make things easier for your team, I think that should be like your number one thing to do. But all in all, I think you should be very, very mindful in terms of, letting just like people know, but also don't be afraid to take time off. Just be responsible with it.
Yes, please don't surprise your colleagues in terms of you're taking some time off and the only evidence you bring is pictures of you in a boat in Tulum. Yeah, don't surprise them. Just let them know ahead of time, and do not share all the Instagram stories with them.
Just a couple.
Yeah, just the ones that are suitable for work.
But are there any ways that you fight burnout?
So a
Or
lot of
any
the same tactics,
risks
right?
to
So
burnout?
yeah, so it's fighting it off, but actually those same tactics are what I use to try to prevent it in the first place.
Mm.
So I keep my diet relatively okay, but when my sleep suffers, then my diet suffers and my exercise suffers. And when you have burnout, you're not as productive, so you don't have the time to put in those hours in the gym. So there has to be some give and take that you have to balance. So, like for example, tonight I'm gonna put in some extra work so that I can work out because I worked out on Sunday, and I plan on doing it again tonight. I don't think I'll be able to do that. So you know what? Let me make sure I'm okay for a decent workout tomorrow, right? And balancing that out. What I do want to caution people against is one, forgetting about one tactic that might build strength and resilience, which is, when things get kind of tough, how about you push through and challenge yourself to find more efficient ways to do the work? That includes delegating to other folks, but also that investment in, let me put in a couple of extra hours to get this deliverable done because I want to impress my colleagues and my supervisors because I have these ambitions to rise quickly within a company or within a field or an industry. So if you, again, this isn't something that's should be done constantly, but you can pick your spots to push through. Don't always be like, you know what, I feel a certain level of burnout. Let me take my time off now. How about, you know what, this is a project that I'm really invested in. Let me test my limits here. And I don't know if you've had this experience lately, but I remember writing the 40-page papers in doctoral study and pushing the limits there. And some work projects recently, like crafting a pitch that you just want to perfect. You'll stay up all night and then you win the award. The feeling that you get from having the end product create wins for you, like you can't, no time off in Tulum could match that.
Yeah.
So, let's not always revert to like, oh, time off, I'm feeling burned out. You can choose one or two very careful spots where, you know what, let's ride this out, let's push through.
Yeah. I feel like that's just the competitor that's in you, and not everybody has that.
Yes, I would agree. I think competition gets a bad rap, but again, maybe let's not think about competing against other people. You're competing against yourself.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm under the belief that everybody wants to get better. The literal step to getting better is challenging yourself each and every day. So if you want to get better, I feel like testing limits here and there, not to the point where like you're risking your life or long-term health. But aside from that, yeah, test those limits and something great can come out of it And one of those great things might be, you know what? My limits weren't really my limits. I could go beyond what I thought I could have. So that's how I think about this idea of like the boundaries that happen once we feel this sense of burnout.
Mhm.
It's a nice compliment to a lot of the same tips that you had, because you had like excellent tips that I employ. A lot of people employ. A lot of people say they want to employ, but they don't, right? Because it's boring. It's not Botox or BBLs. Quick. It just takes time. It's the progress you can't see immediately.
Yeah.
It's slow. So I understand that it's not sexy, but again, boring wins over the long run.
You can say that again.
Yep. So hopefully that gave our audience a nice perspective on how to approach burnout. So between last week's episode, how to identify burnout, and then our tips just now, I think there's a sufficient plan now, and we're looking for comments from the audience and any reshares of some tips that we've shared that really resonated with you. Feel free to share. And we'd love to see how our community really deals with burnout and finds ways to rectify it when they see it, or like, prevent it in the first place. So with that in mind, we can go to our final segment, which is the right move right now. And I think I'm going to start with this idea of navigating the financial markets. You talked about how you invest in companies. That also includes the stock market. I'm very active. I've had my ups and downs, and that adds to a sense of burnout when you see your portfolio going down, a couple of percentage points. You're like, that's not helping with any other.
It's more anger than burnout.
Right. Of course, and when it goes up, you're like, oh, well, wasn't that bad.
It's a good choice.
But yeah. But when things are all pointing downward, we get emotional and we start making bad decisions. So if we bring this out to like a more rational perspective, look, late summer, early fall tends to be the more difficult times in the market if you are long stocks. So prepare for that. You can prepare for that by either selling out of stocks or positions that you're not too tied to based on your research. You can find ways to play the downside. I bought some calls in a VIX. I added more today. Again, that's a little bit more risky, but hey, I missed the risk. So when you think about the ways you can play it, just know that it'll be aligned. If you're trying to play the downside, either by going to cash or hedging, so that for a downturn, just know that late summer, early fall is typically that season where there's some downside and some volatility, just some news. You're hearing about the Fed being encouraged to taper bond purchases as early as September. So that might shake up the markets. And again, I'm not a financial advisor. Derek is not one either. We can't tell you exactly what to do with your money. I just have told you what I'm doing with my money and why I'm doing that. So that's my right move right now.
Cool. For me, I'll go with one very, very quick one. Just to let people know that Bitcoin is back up. Just saying, just like watch that. Just be very, very mindful of it. But for me, my right move right now kind of goes hand in hand with what we spoke about in terms of like how to fight that burnout. Rather than telling people no, just be willing to taking help. And I do want to give a shout out to my wife. Hopefully she's watching this, but she's been very, very helpful with regards to helping out with the properties that we've been able to just like manage, in terms of making sure that the people who apply, like she's checking the references, the credit checks and stuff like that, and just just making sure that that's all done. but it really is refreshing to have a team that's around you. I feel like, with everything that, Chris, you have a lot on for your plate, and like me as well. But it gets to a point where, you want to take everything because, like, this is what I know, so I just want to be able to do it. But if you can just, like, just have that team to help you, like, hey, like, I need you to do this, can you help me out with this, and just kind of just to delegate those tasks to other people, I think that is very, very helpful, especially with what now works. The fact that I've been able to have a couple of people from Fiverr help out, and it's been wonderful. They've helped me in all the different ways, but all of these ways that they've helped me, it's like, I just didn't have enough time to actually do it. And me being self-aware to know, like, Derek, you don't have that, like, there's only 24 hours, and you need to focus on, like, those bigger tasks, and have help to help you, manage, like, those smaller tasks. I mean, I'm not saying that it's small and, like, with regards to, like, the task itself, but it's just that I can't spend that much time doing one thing. So having the help to run certain aspects of, like, my life and all of the companies too. So I think that's very, very helpful, of just being mindful of asking for help and having that that cast around you. I guess your team.
Yeah, quick follow-up on that. This is really a resource allocation issue. So you have this time and effort as resources. How do you allocate them? Like, to what tasks should your time and effort be allocated?
Me personally, or
well, this is like the general framework of what you're talking about.
okay.
So I think this is super helpful for our audience. So you're breaking it down, but there's, like, this general concept of resource allocation that people should keep in mind. And since you're out here thanking your wifey, I do want to thank someone who's been helping out on my team. This idea of refreshing that you brought up, I couldn't have put it better, because I felt refreshed when this person, she did a task without my asking for it, and it felt like, wait, that type of foresight and empathy, like, I haven't had that sometimes. And she did it again, like, last night, and I felt almost ashamed to receive the help. So I actually was like, no, I got it. And I kind of got it, but not at the same timetable. And I'm like super thankful, but I'm also reflecting on myself, like, you know what? I really need to improve on the sense of guilt I would feel if I let someone help me, even though it was assigned to me initially.
Mhm.
So I need to do better. And your tips today on not just burnout, but this idea of, making sure that you delegate well and openly and with good conscience, like that's really gonna help me out. It's a great reminder, so I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, man, it's been helpful, so helpful. So
Yeah,
helpful.
and I'm also proud to see what now works. Raking in these contracts.
Yeah, man.
Helping find, place, source talent. So for anyone out there who's seeing this, just know Derek is an expert at that, and feel free to reach out.
Yeah, just a quick plug. If anybody's looking for a full stack developer role or a senior DevOps role, one of my clients, they are hiring as soon as possible. So if you go check out the website, you'll definitely find the job posting there. So just definitely send me your resume, and you will get a conversation with the hiring manager right away. No more applicant tracking systems. Direct to the source.
ASAP, people. That sounds like 6-figure roles.
It is a 6-figure role.
Oh, let's go, people. Let's go. Direct connection. You don't have to worry about the black hole of submitting your resume online. Let's go, people. Come on. So good job, Derek. And I hope again, like when we share this on LinkedIn, and we'll get a couple folks that apply. It's a win-win for everyone.
Most definitely.
And speaking of win-wins for everyone, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's a win for you because you get to see the live episodes first, and it's a win for us. And we can build around your needs when you comment, when you like, and when you share. You have questions. We appreciated your questions in the past. We're looking for more. And yeah, we are still looking for guests who might want to join in. We're open to that. We tried it out. It went pretty well. So we want to continue that. So again, follow, like, share, and we will see you on the next episode of the Risk Reward Show. Thank you all for supporting.